to our keynote speaker, Larry Carrino. Help us to engage and make this a great day. Thanks, Larry.
Good morning, everybody. Compliments are a hard thing sometimes because they at times sound obligatory. You ever notice that? Or it's kind of the thing to say. When I got up this morning and kind of reflected on yesterday, I reflected on all the parts of what we did after I spoke, not including me. And I thought to myself, should I say this morning or not? If I say it, it may sound obligatory. But if I don't say it, I'm not speaking the truth. So I just had to start out this morning and saying this, because the whole day with each of you just kept bringing this home. This is a very special group of people. And it has to be said because you guys need to know when God has put something very special in you, because it's you don't really know it. What you're giving off to other people, you don't know because it's you. You're normal to you. But being somebody coming into this group for the first time, and I'm probably in the most unique position to say this because I didn't know any of you, except for Jack and John, a few others. This really is a special group. And for your leadership, for each of the principal owners and so forth, you really should be very proud of the people you have here. You've got a great spirit. And so it's funny going into this exercise, this group probably needs this a little less than a lot of other groups I've spoken to. And yet, in order to maintain what you have and to bring it to the next level, we are going to do something that's probably a little brutal to do at 8:30, although not nearly as brutal as running up and down stairs. I think one of these days I'll get there. But we're going to do an exercise together. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just take a look. Does everyone have one of these? Okay. All we're going to do this morning, because I'm just going to be with you until about 9 o'clock this morning. If somebody does not have one, just let me know. Somebody does not have one.
Yeah, we need a couple.
Couple?
I have two.
I like that. Oh, by the way, I'd like to introduce you. This is my wife, Jackie. I picked her up last night. And,
That came out right.
I picked her up last night. Yeah, we didn't know each other. We got married. It was a whirlwind day.
Congratulations. Big day.
Going on 25 years, actually. But my much better half is here today, so I'm happy. Okay, we're going to take a look at this morning. Here's what we're going to do. One of the things that I have learned in my life and that I think is important in terms of leadership, there are two components that we need to work on, and we've heard that pretty much throughout the day yesterday. It was said, it was reinforced and reinforced again. I want to talk to you this morning about your internal life, not your skills, not your abilities, not your competencies and proficiencies. I want to be very clear that those things are absolutely crucial, no doubt about that. But I'm not here today to teach you how to be a chiropractor simply because I'm not a chiropractor. You all have forgotten more about medicine than I'll probably ever know. Leadership, on the other hand, involves two core competencies. And by core, I mean the very inner part of who you are. What makes this group special is not that you're chiropractors. What makes this group special is what's on the inside of you and comes out to others, probably in ways you're not even aware of. We want to grow that and we want to protect that because life has a way of happening to us. And so with the pressures and with the temptations and with the stresses and with the opportunities, not all of which are good, that come into life, we can be compromised in our trajectory of growing on the inside so that we're able to project that out to the people around us. What I want to do this morning then is we're going to do a little bit of a self-assessment inventory. A lot of this time is going to be you thinking and writing. Now here's one thing I'm going to ask. This is your paper. This is no one else's. This is not going to be done in a group. It's not going to be shared. We're not going to ask you to talk about what you wrote down this morning. We are going to take, however, what we write down, and I want us to bring that into this afternoon session, and I want you to make reference to it, quiet reference to it. You're not going to be sharing it on the outside. But I hope that there is one or maybe two people in your life who you will be sharing this with. And that's the person who you're going to hold yourself accountable to. We'll talk about that in a little while. Let's start with your compass. The first thing you need in order to be a leader is a leader. And I'm not talking about people in the profession or people in your life that you admire, respect, or look up to. There's got to be a North Star in your life. For me, It's God. Okay, and I think honestly, I'll be honest with you, there isn't a better North Star. He never changes. He doesn't move. He doesn't have a bad day. He's never unavailable. The compass has to be a person in your life who is unchangeable, who is the very embodiment of what you know you need to be on the inside. But we don't see God. We see the things that he's done in life. We see his creation. But we do see him through others. And there are people who model that and example that in your life. And so in your profession, you may watch, if you're a massage therapist and you watch somebody do what they do and you say, wow, I like the way they do that, or I want to learn from that. If you're a doctor and you see someone's technique, in dealing with a patient, if you're an administrator and you watch the way they handle patients or manage an office, there are great opportunities that we have to be able to imitate what others do well. I'm not talking about any of that this morning. Let's take a look at the first set of questions. What set of personal characteristics do you value most in others? Now, what I put in there is, in case we're not on the same page here, how do you know? Think of 3 people that have impacted you most personally. The people who make you feel most loved, accepted, and free to pursue who you are. Yeah, we got it. Can you pass a few more back?
I just need one here.
Think of 3 people in your life
Thank you.
who make you feel most loved, accepted, and free to pursue who you are. Then think about the characteristics that describe them. Don't have to put their names down. What describes them? Take a few minutes and get that down. Be as specific as possible. Don't put down like they're nice. Yeah, we know. Put down something a little more specific. For those of you who are finished, try not to rush ahead, just relax. We're going to do all this at the same time. Okay, number 2, what set of, now here's the hard part. I know it's only, 20 to 9. This is a hard question to ask, I think, at any time of day, much less earlier in the morning. Here's where we need to be gut level honest, and here's why. I know I'm going to sound like a high school teacher for a moment, but here's where we keep our eyes on our own paper. Okay? Because this is where we get gut level honest. Now, we could be dishonest with ourselves, and that's going to be the temptation. I can't emphasize this enough. We tend to be very vague and very petty in our criticisms of ourselves. Whereas we know deep in our hearts that there are areas of our lives that we struggle with, and we don't want to let the rest of the world struggle with us. It's very interesting, before we go into this section, my son introduced me to a song a couple of years ago. For those of you who have kids who are a little older, they introduce you to their music, and it's very interesting. Some of you might know this song. It's by the All-American Rejects. How many of you are familiar with that group? Dirty Little Secret. Okay. When I heard the song, I had one impression of it, and I thought, wow, I really appreciate this song. I thought it was very moral until I saw the video. How many of you have ever seen the video, Dirty Little Secret? There are a bunch of kids who basically got on and say, I have fear of death, I have an eating disorder, I'm afraid that my friends won't like me. All of the things that we see rampant in our society today, that's my dirty little secret. Everyone has them. We're either afraid of something, we're either, we look at the world in a specific way that we just can't get out, past ourselves with. And the most brilliant, the most talented, the most resourceful people, we all have them. And we bring that into what we do. What I'm asking you to do today is take a look at the second set of questions. What set of personal characteristics do you need the greatest work in your life? When you look at, don't answer yet. When you look at people who seem very confident, they're probably the least confident people in the world. You say, how do you know that, Larry? I've worked with a lot of people over the years. And I can tell you honestly that there's a facade that we put on because this is how we function in the world. And then there's the real us. And for some people, and this is tragic, nobody knows the real us. They really don't. Part of becoming a leader is to be transparent. That doesn't mean you wear your heart on your sleeve and you tell everybody your personal business. That's not it. You get in touch with who you are, and then you get a team of people. It could be one person, it could be a group of people who know you, who love you, and who can work with you to get that guiding star to be able to get over those personal deficiencies. Because I'll tell you this truthfully, you will never be the leader that God wants you to be as long as you're carrying that baggage. So here's my question. What's your baggage? What do you fear? What do you think? What do you struggle with? Those are the things I'm going to ask you to put down on your paper in the next few minutes. Please, even if you have to take a moment, be real honest with yourself. Take a few minutes to do that. Just going to interject one more thing. You're still sitting there and thinking, I'm really not sure what to say. Take a look at the paper. What was the last 3 times someone came to you and were frustrated with you about something? That might be a good tip-off. Okay. What did they say? Work. I'm bitter about this. I'm frustrated about this. I'm angry about this. I'm insecure about this. I don't trust this. I wonder about this. I'm unsure about this. These are the things we want to get down today. I think about some of our students here this morning, and I'll tell you, you have such an incredible head start in so many ways in this conference. To start getting a grasp on some of these things this early in your career, to get you out those doors. It's incredible. Okay, let's turn to page 2. This is all in preparation for what we're going to be doing this afternoon. So I want you to hold on to this. You got to say covered up place, okay, until this afternoon. The first step in developing the inner life is understanding, number one, that we have one and getting in touch with that. And number two, understanding that we bring ourselves into everything we do. We don't only bring our abilities and competencies, we bring ourselves. And it comes out, folks. It really does. More than we could possibly want to know that it comes out. And so the first thing we need to do is to say, okay, what do I want to be? That was your first question. What kind of person do I want to be? Because those are the people I want to be around. Chances are, to be like that is to be somebody that others want to be around. Now, don't be fooled into saying, yeah, I have friends, they want to be around me. Hitler had friends, okay? They wanted to be around him too. That means nothing. A leader is somebody everybody wants to be around, regardless. A leader is someone who can turn a difficult person around and make them feel loved and cared for. Secondly is, what are the areas in my life then that are going to need some transformation? That's the second question we talked about. Now, I can't do it alone. One of the things that a number of people mentioned yesterday, Jeff mentioned it, John mentioned it, a couple of other people mentioned it. We can't do this alone. One of the geniuses, I think, of the Big Fish concept is that, yeah, we pay it forward, but nobody does it alone. Anytime you've ever seen anyone do anything great, there were a lot of people involved. I'll give you one very quick example. How many of you like movies? See a show of hands on it. Okay. You look at a really great movie that was made and then you sit and just watch the credits. How many of you have ever watched the credits and it's striking you, wow, that's a lot of people who worked on this thing. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. And you realize that, it's hard sometimes because you look at the main actors and think they just got together on a set one day, shot this thing, it was all done. No, there was so much that went into it. That's the same with our inner lives. Now here's the difference though. Your cast of characters is not going to be that long because in working on your inner life, you've got to have people you can trust. You've got to have people you can trust. Here's the key ingredient to someone you can trust. They don't have to be the smartest. They don't have to be the wisest. They don't have to be the oldest. They don't have to be the youngest, the strongest, or whatever. It's someone who has the capacity to accept you for who you are. And please just jot this down somewhere on your paper today. That is someone who is not impressed by you. That is not someone who is impressed by you. You don't intimidate them. So whether you're happy with them or sad with them or angry at them or whatever, it doesn't matter. Let me give you a good example of what I mean. How many of you here are married? Let me see a show of hands. Okay. And so at one point, and it's going to sound like a stupid question, but just follow with me. So that would infer at one point you weren't married. Is that fair to say, right? And you had a first date with the person you were married to. Think back to that first date for a minute. Think about how you saw that person and how you see them now. And the difference. All the things you worried about that they thought that they were going to do, how you walked on eggshells around them, and how radically that has changed today. That's what I'm talking about. What changed? It's not just familiarity. It's the fact that you entered into a covenant with each other that has said, you know what? I'm totally going to see you for who you are. Let me just take a quick example from Scripture for a moment that I think is amazing. Okay? In the opening verses of Genesis, the Scripture says that God created the man and the woman. There were only two people on the planet. Just follow this with me for a minute. How many of you have ever had this is the most common nightmare. Anybody know what the most common nightmare is? Psychologists say?
Being naked.
Yes. Okay, it's being out in public naked. Okay, now a lot of you here are very fit people, which makes me feel very intimidated. Okay, that's one of my goals for 2014. That's a scary thought. Okay, that really is a scary thought. We're out in public naked. Why do you think that's the most common? Anybody? Because we're all perverts, right?
Original sin.
What's that?
Original sin.
I'm sorry, one more time.
It's like an original sin that was.
Okay, no, it's a little bit more than that.
People are insecure.
We're insecure, and therefore people will what? They'll see us for what we are. It's vulnerability. Here's the amazing part. What if there were only two people on the whole earth, and the other one was your mate? Would you be okay being naked? Okay, this is what the garden was like. There was no one else on earth. And here's what Moses says in Genesis. It says, and they were naked and not ashamed. Of course, there was nobody else on earth. And the only person that was there was the wife and the husband. why would it say that? It's not talking about physical nakedness. It's talking about a relationship between the two of these prior to what sin and corruption does in this world, where they were able to say, you know what, I am free to be completely who I am, without the fear of reprisal, without the fear of criticism, and so forth. There are echoes of that in each of our lives. There are people that God has put in our life that resemble that to us. They accept us for who we are, and they're not impressed with us. Who are those people in your life? Because though you may say, I only have one person. Okay, one is enough, honestly. I have one, honestly, and she's sitting right over there. And she keeps me honest. Okay, that's my accountability group. And I need accountability, as do you. And I've learned the hard way in my life that when we don't submit to accountability, very bad things happen. They may not happen right away, but they are our guardrails. And that's why they have guardrails the whole highway, not just some of it. Not just what they perceive to be the dangerous parts. They keep us on track. And so who do you feel honestly safest with in life? Here's what's important, okay? Some people may be sitting here today and say, I don't really have anyone like that. You might not. There are people at this point in your life where you don't. And this is where you start doing two things. You start praying for someone, and you start looking for someone. Identify people who are not intimidated by you and who is put in your path as a potential accountability partner. Okay, now, who is the ideal accountability partner in each one of our lives? God? Yeah, well, God, I'll tell you the truth. That's an interesting answer. No, God's not going to hold you accountable. God is going to be your moral compass. But when you do bad things, He's not going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, Larry, cut it out. He puts us there for that. And so ideally, who is your best accountability partner? Anybody? If you're married, it should be your mate. If not, it should be someone who knows you best, someone from your family. And you may say, I don't like to be accountable to those people. Sure you don't, because they know you best. That's the problem. Here's the thing about accountability. It sucks. Okay, it really does. It's like exercise. It doesn't feel good at the time, but what it gives you is priceless. That's who we need to be thinking of today. Okay, so there are three things that we have we're going to write down. Someone you can be completely quiet with. When you first meet people, there's kind of that awkward, I need to say something kind of feeling, right? I need to make conversation, I need to keep the conversation going. How do I stop the conversation? Somebody that none of those rules apply to. In fact, one of the things I always say to people is, can you sit in a car for 3 hours and not say a word with someone and feel completely comfortable with them? That says a lot. Who's like that in your life? And who knows you? Those are the people I want you to write down. Now, I have room for 3 here. And if you have 3, you're doing awesome. That's great. You only really need 1. Take a few minutes and think about either who is there or who you would like to see there. And write that down. Okay, last one. If you are like most people, you'll be checking off number 1. Let's be completely honest. Let's take a look at what it says. What kind of accountability system do you have currently in place for yourself? Let me explain what I'm not asking. Do you have someone who qualifies to keep you accountable in your life? Most of you probably do. That's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, are you using it? Okay, now, let me just qualify this question, all right, because we need to be clear on what I'm asking here. I'm not asking, do you sense the need for accountability? I think we do. I'm not asking that. Or, is there someone in your life who criticizes you a lot or who holds you accountable personally? Not asking that either. What I'm asking is this. Do you have a system in your life that you have initiated with another person where the two of you have sat down and said, I'm going to share with you what I wrote on page 1 about myself. And then we're going to agree on how you can assist me in growing in those areas of my life. Now, I'll be honest, if there are 2 of you in this room who can answer yes to that question, I'll be impressed. Because most people don't think of that. They really don't. But if you are one of those rare people, I'm going to ask you to describe the system and what's involved. And number 2, if you do not have that currently in place, just put a little X. Here one. Before I close this section, we have about 2 more minutes. I'm going to pose a question to Dr. John for a moment, put him on the spot. Okay? We've heard a lot yesterday about the need to go to things like this, conferences, seminars, and that type of thing. Dr. John, I'm going to ask you almost a rhetorical question, okay, for the sake of the group. How many hours is it to go to chiropractic school? How many actual credit hours are there? Is it something like 5,500 or something like it I've seen like that?
Yeah, 44, 45.
Oh, okay. Then you have to take boards, right? And then you have to start interning and working with people. That's a lot of experience. It's a lot of exposure. Why in the world would it be necessary then to go to things like this if you have all that formal schooling?
I'd say I didn't even start going to seminars until I was like a T6 or T7, which is there's 10 trimesters in the schooling. So, and I was kind of forced into it because I was with Jeff's clinic, and I was kind of like, oh, this will be whatever. It was amazing. And from that point on, I was like, holy crap, like, why didn't I do this ever? And then I started telling everybody, and that's one thing I would say that I've been sort of gifted with, is when I like something, everyone else is going to like exactly what I like. And so I'll be a salesman. It can be a shirt, it can be seminars, and so anybody I meet now, when they're not going to seminars, they don't know who I know, or aren't reading who I'm reading, I would pump it into their brain. And it's really simple. You're just investing in yourself. You're learning what people have spent 30, 40 years developing, and you're reducing your learning curve like crazy. And so if you want to be the person who sits there and twiddles their thumb and tries to figure it out themselves, good luck. It's going to take you a lifetime to even get this much. And so if you go to the seminars, invest in yourself, and pick up some of that knowledge, you're going to be just an incredible person inside, as well as when we're just doing these kind of seminars, it's not about success or whatever, it's life. It's how to deal with your spouse, it's things like that. Hearing Larry's story, it's like stuff that you're not going to hear every day. So, cool.
I'm going to ask, thank you, John. I'm going to ask one more question. Any baseball fans in here? Okay. Somebody I haven't seen. Could you raise your hands again? Who are the baseball fans in here? All right.
I'm not the only one that likes baseball.
All right. I'm still getting to know names.
Justin.
Justin. Oh, that's my nephew's name. Justin, are you who you follow? Twins? Do you know that in order to make the Minnesota Twins or any professional baseball team, that you literally have to be the top 1%, within the top 1% of all baseball players in the world? Do you know how many great baseball players there are out there? Do you know how many there are playing in the college ranks and international ranks? Yet, most of those people will never make the Twins. When it thaws, a couple of months, thank God, it starts being above zero. Where will the Twins go? What will be the first thing they do? Now, these are guys, to be clear, with the top 1% of what they do. They're going to go where? Right to Target Field? Where are they going to go? Okay, they go to Florida, and what do they do? What specifically do they do? They throw, they catch, they run. You think, oh, wait a minute. This is the top 1% of baseball players in the world. What in the world are they doing, throwing, catching, and running? The point I'm trying to make is this. I don't care how good you are at what you do. If you don't stay committed to the essentials, to the basics, whether in chiropractic, whether it's sports, I don't care what it is that you do, you are going to lose the edge because life happens. That's very, very critical to understand. Building your inner life is exactly the same way. If you don't have someone who is constantly coaching you personally, who knows you well, and who knows specifically what areas to work on, you're going to lose that edge, and you're going to bring that loss into everything that you do. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Physically right now, take this paper and put it somewhere where no one can see it. Okay? But put it in a place that a little later on this afternoon, we're going to be able to make reference to. So when we get together again, I believe it's somewhere around 1:30, we're going to take these out again, we're going to look at them, and we're going to consider some exciting things together. Okay? So I'm excited for the rest of the day. Are you?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's get
Okay. Very brief story, because Larry started it, and I'm gonna finish that thought. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, who do I coach with, or what coach have I used in the past? And I'm in my 19th year of practice, and one of the mistakes I made, and one of the reasons that I developed the Big Fish program, is that I didn't coach for probably 13 years. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't do seminars. I love seminars. I went all over the place. I've heard so many speakers and traveled the country and heard thousands of speakers. But in my mind, what I thought I was doing by going and hearing people speak, coming to events like this, like what we're doing, I thought that was coaching for me. And I'm not saying that it didn't work, because I am who I am, and I've been successful at doing what I'm doing. However, I absolutely kick myself for not coaching sooner. And one of the things that I want to get across to people is, don't do what I did. Don't do what I did. I'm smarter now. I'm coaching now. I think I'm paying 3 coaches right now. My bookkeeper's like, why are you paying all these people? Like, because I need to learn. And that's what I do. In fact, one of my coaches is coaching me on how to coach. Kind of weird, huh? But it's very important that we all coach. Tiger Woods has a coach. These baseball players, they have a coach. They're the best in the world, and they still train and coach. So it's not enough to just go to seminars, which is what I did, grabbing stuff from all these different people and then trying to apply it. There needs to be a system, and there needs to be accountability, and that's what you can get, not just with Big Fish. Other coaching systems are great for that too. So, and if you need names of different companies and whatnot, glad to give you my opinion and names and stuff like that. Okay, we're going to take 5 minutes, and then Christy's going to kick us on the butt. So 5-minute break to fill up your coffee, get a drink, what have you, and we'll see you right back here.